Hey there, folks. This is KlerikReturns, returning to you with another episode of Kerbal Space Program. Today we're going to continue where we left off in our last episode, our last science episode, where we designed a rocket and for our first flight, covered some of the controls and got a bit of science and bought some new parts. So today we're going to use these new parts, particularly this stack decoupler. This is in the 0.2, 0.23, 0.24, I forget what version it is. It's the latest version, excuse me. The second revision of the science update, which now includes the science archives. So you can go in here and take a look at a lot of research. Yeah, take a look at all the previous research that you've done. For example, let's take a look at Kerbins. We've done the grasslands, the shores, and the launch pad, all very important parts. The more science we do, the more science we get, and the more parts we can buy. You know how it works. So let's get directly to the VAB. We will start designing our second ship, which we will call I Drive a Doge. Let's stick with Doge. A Doge Stratus. Yes. That's a reference for those who don't know. What's the name of that guy? He does Ron Burgundy. I'll remember his name later. But yes, SNL. I drive a Dodge Stratus. It's a Doge. I drive a Doge. Such rocket. Yes. Okay, so new parts. We've got new fuel tanks. I think we started with this guy. We got this bigger one, and now also the smaller one. Got the tall solid rocket boosters and separatrons. These guys are fun. We added the stack decoupler, very, very important. And we got the parachutes. Oh, and the mystery goo and Communotron. No sub-assemblies yet. Alright, so we've got our pod. Everything starts from the pod, and we want this pod to return so we can reclaim all the science. So let's put a parachute on there, make sure that we get down safely. And science-wise, we want to make sure that these goo containers, let me hit X so I can go into the symmetry mode. And Shift X goes back down. Let's stick two of these on the sides because this is the portion that we plan on having return to the planets. And let's put a little antenna on the back side. Oh, no, not on the front side. The thing is, if you put things in front of the door here, your little Kerbal guy, he can't get out. It'll say the hatch is blocked, and you can't do any EVA reports, which you're losing out on a ton of science. So to avoid that, just make sure your manhole, the cover, the door is open and unblocked. So let's stick a stack decoupler here. This will separate the top from the rest of the ship. And our goal this time around is to get a ship into orbit. Should be easy enough, right? Right. So let's stack a couple of these. That should be good. But we've also got the thrust vectoring, which I think, so you can, in the new UI, you can right-click on these to get more info and hide the info. So this one has gimbaling. This one does not have gimbaling. So gimbaling basically is turn assist. As you, let me see if I can zoom in here. So as you're flying about, this part of the rocket will actually tilt this way or that way, or whichever way it needs to go, so it'll help turn the ship in the direction that you want it to go. Very, very important. It helps a lot with controlling larger ships. Okay, so we got this guy going, and this is the one that we're going to get into final orbit, hopefully. At least that's the plan. Should be more than enough fuel. Let's now add another decoupler, and this is the part that's going to get it up into orbit. So I want to move this ship around so I can kind of stick some more stuff down here and have some more room. So there's two options to do that in the VAB. First, you can grab the capsule. You can see when I mouse over it, the whole thing turns green. So you can left click, move the whole ship around. The other option is you can mouse over any one part, hold down shift, left click, and then you can move it around as well. Either way, up to you, whichever's easier. So let's add some stuff here. So I want to let's do a couple of these guys. Now, since I've already got one here, and you might have seen me do this earlier, I wanted to duplicate this exact same part. So I can hold down Alt, left click on it, and it gives me exactly the same part. And it works with kind of like sub-assemblies. It'll work with the parts that you've got attached to that part. So if I grab, say, this part here, and I hold down Alt, it'll grab a whole mess of things. So I can attach that whole shenanigans onto the bottom. Not quite what I want to do, but just so you know, you can do that. So we got 3. Let's do 4. I think it can handle it. So the thing with rockets, I think I mentioned this in the last episode, is it's always a balance between thrust to weight. So the more fuel you add, the longer you can thrust, but the more it weighs, so you have to put a stronger engine on it. So this one you can see in the light blue in the first section there, it says max thrust 215. This is max thrust 200. The 200 has the gimbaling, so it's a little less powerful, but it'll help you turn. So I think on this bottom section I do want to turn, because we're going to add some stuff around the outside. But we'll do this 200, there's no value on that, 200 somethings of thrust we're going to add to the bottom there. Now, let's add, see, we've just got these stacked decouplers, so we'll plan on adding more fuel tanks around the outside here. But instead of just, building a whole new one, let's just grab this one, since I want to add a whole bunch of these. And we'll hit X to get, let's do 6. I think 6 will fit okay. And I want to make sure that we get these aligned so that when it's on the launch pad, it doesn't want to tip over. So we got all these rockets at the same height, and they're not being held on much with anything. But it should be okay. I mean, this height, it might get a little flimsy and might spin out a bit, but we'll see. It's an adventure. That's how rocket building goes. So at the bottom of all of these, so we got our symmetry on still. Let's kick those on, and one in the center. We hit X, cycle through. Now under these, I wanted to put solid rocket boosters. Go. And it looks like we're clipping a little bit, so you can always go up and then back down. That's what I feel usually works pretty well. Or, yeah, sometimes you can get it to shift out. You know what? That is telling me that these are colliding a little bit too much, so I'm going to switch from 6 times symmetry. Let me grab this again. 6 times down to 4 times. Yes. And let's get the height adjusted just right. And right about there. Should do it. Now we should be able to put these on no problem. Yes, can. Let me grab one more of these. Single time symmetry. Put it in the middle. It'll let me. You can do it. You can do it. Boom. Snaps into place. Okay, so this is looking fairly good. It doesn't seem very stable, I don't think. This is definitely going to be an experimental flight. Let's see, do we have anything else that we can do? Not really. We've already got all our science stuff. We've got all this stuff. And, oh, that's right. Here's our stage that we wanted to do. So we can also add these to the outside and get quite a bit of boost. So this should really get us up off the ground very quickly. Excuse me. So we got all 4 of these. We got the center one, all 4 of the outside ones, and then these all kick off. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the center. And then these all launch at the same time. And then those all break off from here. This one launches. And this one launches. You can check your staging by mousing over this one. You'll see this stack separator here will highlight when I mouse over this guy. And then the same happens when I mouse over this, the stage in which it's in, it'll also highlight it. And we got our parachute at the very top. So in this building section, I also wanted to cover action groups very quickly, just because they're extremely handy for doing a lot of things all at once. So you can set up your staging like so that every time you hit the space bar, something happens. So action groups kind of make it so that things that aren't stageable or things that you want to happen all at once can happen all at once at the push of a single button. So over here on your action groups, you've got the kind of game actions. So the stage, which is the space bar. So you can set something. Let's grab a goo container, for example, so you can see it's highlighted in blue. Let me zoom in here. That's holding down shift while scrolling the mouse wheel up. So we got this, and since it's 2x symmetry, when it's put on there, you can see that when I select one of these, both of them are selected for the action group. There's no way that I know of to separate these out once they've been created with symmetry mode when you're creating action groups, but usually it's not a problem. So we got both of these selected, and I would like to observe the mystery goo. And what this does is it'll set it so that if I stage, every time I hit stage, it'll try and observe the goo if it's possible. If not, it'll give you an error message. But I don't really want that on staging, so let's do it on custom number 1. This means when I hit the number 1 on the keyboard, that whatever I set up to do here will happen. So let's observe the mystery goo. And number 2, select our pod here. And we can take a crew report. This makes it a whole lot easier to take crew reports instead of having to right click and then find a crew report in the list of all the things. No, you just hit the number 2 on the keyboard, it'll take a crew report and pop up that science window for you. And then optionally, let's see what else have we got in here. So we got staging, we got gear, which is the letter G, which if you have landing gear or landing legs, those will pop out. Lights is the U key. I have no idea why, but that's when you turn the lights on. I used to set it up so that my action groups, whenever I turn the lights on, I'd also have solar panels come out. We don't have any solar panels yet, obviously, but it's kind of a nice feature. Since you're using extra power, you might as well get the extra power from the sun. But you got to be careful. RCS and SAS, those are R and T, and brakes is B, and abort is the delete key. So the abort sequence is pretty fun. You know what? Let's build in an abort sequence just so that we can try it out. So the abort sequence on this guy, we just want to get this pod away and get it set up so that it can find its way back to the ground safely. So step 1, we want to add some separatrons, which look absolutely monstrous on this guy. Let's add... Let's see, we don't want to obstruct. Where can we... Let's see, do we need to change our setup to do this? Yep. I think we're going to have to, just because we can't really put them anywhere safely. If we do 3, yeah, let's do 3 times symmetry. Okay, that should be okay. Right. So this, and this should all fire at the same time. And I think that's all we need. So let's set up our action group. The abort sequence. Step 1, we want to activate these engines. You can choose to toggle or shut down, but these are basically itty-bitty solid rocket boosters, so once you hit go, there's no stopping it. And look at this. Put it in our staging here. We don't really want that. So let's grab it, put it in a separate stage, click plus or minus to create one, and then you can drag the whole stage, and we'll put it at the top just so it's at the very end so we don't use it accidentally on our way. Alright, so we got our separatrons set to activate on the abort sequence. We would also want to separate it from the rocket, so let's select that, decouple, and we also want to deploy our parachute. So let's select that and select deploy. So now when we hit abort, these will fire, this will separate, and the parachute will go off, ensuring that our science and our little Kerbonaut will land safely back on Kerbin. At least that's the idea. Usually it doesn't work out that way. But I think we've got a pretty solid rocket here, at least enough to do some science. My goal is to get into a polar orbit, so that we can just kind of orbit, and watch the world spin beneath us, and we can get as much science as is Kerbinly possible. Alright, let me get this set up, and I will see you on the launch pad. Alright, here we are on the launch pad, ready to go, but like a good tester person, QA. I'm a QA individual today. Can't go any higher with the camera. Let's test out our new abort sequence. Oh, this thing is starting to wobble. Alright, so the abort sequence is here, or it should be on the delete key. So let's hit it in 3, 2, 1. No. Oh, it doesn't work like it should. Is it backspace? I always forget. Backspace! It is backspace. Whoa, 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 whoa. We lost that. Let me set that up and try it again. Hang on. Convert to launch. Alright, here we go. Keep the camera centered this time. Alright, so it's backspace and not delete. Delete will actually change your mode, I guess, from staging to docking, and then to go back to staging, you hit insert, delete and insert, and then orbit map, you know, is just the map, which you can hit with the letter M. M for map. Alright, so this guy is ready to test the eject abort sequence, which we will do much better now. In 3, 2, 1, abort. There we go. It gets a little wonky, but it does rip it apart from this guy. Pull it open, and a nearly safe touchdown. But he's good to come back out, right? Jeb, you are ready to come out. Does this work? And it works. Look at that. Good stuff. All right, so let's set this up to launch again. Now that we've run a simulation to test the abort sequence, let's get launching for realsies. All right, I'm gonna hit T, turn on SAS, hold down Shift to throttle all the way up. We won't need it until we finish with these rocket boosters, but I don't want to forget it. And our goal is to head north, which is this little orange line on here. So we're going to launch in a 3, a 2, a 1, a go. Look at that guy flex. It's going to be fascinating. He's got plenty of power. Yeah, the flex on these guys, so we haven't purchased the struts yet. I think they're called struts. Which will help, you know, keep these all together and bind them to the center, so you don't really have to worry about them too much. Yeah, oh, that's so bright. Going up, up, up. So hopefully this will get us at least part way through the lower atmosphere, so that we don't have to expend as much energy to get into orbit. So I'm going to wait. Alright, stage and fire. Do we have the center rocket firing? I think we do. Looks like it's good. So we're kind of just going to hang out here. Our speed is getting kind of high, so the thing with rockets is there's a terminal velocity. There's a point at which the amount of thrust that you put into it is negated by the amount of drag by the atmosphere. So when you're in this light blue section, that happens at about 200 meters per second. So you don't really want to accelerate too much beyond that. Which, as you see, as we pass this starts going up way quicker. So we can throttle all the way up. I think the max speed in this section is about 500-600 meters per second. So we'll keep under that, but let's start heading northward since we're past 10,000 meters. It's kind of the generally accepted point at which to do a gravity turn or a turn under thrust. We are looking good. Lots of fuel left in these guys. Look at that. So the one thing I would like to share, kind of waiting in flight here, is that if you right-click on a guy, on a fuel tank, or electric, yeah, we can do this, electric or the monopropellant built in, you can click this little arrow here and it'll actually disable fuel from flowing out of this container, or electricity in the case of a battery. Alright, I'm going to turn a little bit over to this side here just so we can get our reticule over the north part, because when we take off we're obviously going at the same speed as the planet, and so we need to cancel out that speed and get us flying directly north instead of north-esque. Alright, that's good. That's good, good, good. Alright, let me go down a little bit more. Hold it right there. Tap F to turn SAS off and back on. Alright, so this is good. I wonder... Yeah, so if I had fuel lines going from the center part out to these parts, then it would drain from the top here all the way down. But these all have their own fuel. Let's tilt a little bit further down. Normally I would check the map by now. Oh, look at that. We're over 100 meters. I should have checked the map a long time ago. Let's stage this guy out. Oh, did we lose our... No, we're still good on charge. This little capsule, though, has a hard time turning this huge mass. Alright, let's turn. Yeah, much easier now. Yeah, I got way too high. This is a super high orbit. I think I failed. You know what, though? Let's keep with it. And let me hit space again. We're going to activate the engine. Oop, still throttled up. Hit X to cut the throttle in case of emergency. And this thing is going up way too high. You know, I'm tempted to relaunch just so we can use our fuel much more efficiently. But, you know, we'll just get into a simple orbit with this. So the thing with orbits is, when you get up to your apoapsis, which is the peak, the very top of your orbit, that's when you get the most leverage, I think is a good word. So that when you thrust in the direction that you're going, it'll speed you up, such that you'll fall towards Earth, or fall towards Kerbin, but miss it. So you're constantly flying around, but you're going so fast that you're falling in, but you just miss it every time. So that's an orbit. And this one is actually really, it's very polar. It's very good. So we're going to wait until we hit our apoapsis. It's going to be a huge far out orbit. I'm doing a little time warp here. You can do this either by clicking around up here, or by doing the period and comma keys. Period goes faster, comma goes slower. See, so we're about 2 minutes out, 1 minute out, and 30 seconds. Let's pull this up, and let's go in the direction that we're going, because we want to speed up. We want to make sure we don't fall into Kerbin's gravity. Tap SAS. Our charge is going okay. Let's throttle up just a little bit. This probably won't take too much. Oh, let's throttle up all the way. Let's make it happen, because we're only going 800 meters per second. But yeah, it won't take too much because we're so high up. Let me see if I can explain this. So the further out you go, the slower you go. So like the moon takes a long time to orbit Kerbin. Oh, let's cut it. 200 should be good. Oh, we're 300. Good enough, good enough. Good enough indeed. This is high in orbit. So yeah, the moon takes a lot longer to orbit than, say, the ship. So the further out you go, the slower you're going to go. So right now, I'm going about 1,300 meters per second. Let's zoom around, time warp, down to the periapsis, and you can see that we're now going over 2,000 meters per second. So we're going faster as we're closer to the planet. So when you get further out, it's easier to get leverage and get yourself into a stable orbit. Something like that. I am not a rocket scientist by any means. But now that we are here, let's take a look at our capsule. This guy, he's ready to go. Let's see, we are over the ocean, so let's take a crew report. And remember, we can do that with, let's see, was it the number 1 or the number 2? Oh, the number 1 was the goo, so we should do the goo. Number 1, this opens, and the goo feels right at home here. So I'm going to keep 1 and trash the other one, just reset it. And that is because the new way that science is done, you can only do an experiment once with a lot of the science stuff. So that makes it a little bit harder to get science, which is good, because it makes it quite a bit more challenging. But at the same time, it makes it take a lot longer to get through the tree. But we can do multiple crew reports, one for each biome that we are over. So number 2, we will take a crew report. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, so we're going to keep this because when you land, you get the full value. But if you transmit, let's see if we can review the data. If we transmit it, we only get 3, but if we recover it, we get a full 10. So if we keep it and then land back on Kerbin, crash down into the ocean, then yeah, we get our full science points instead of just part of them. So that's what the plan is. Let's take a crew report with number 2, and here, so this transmission does not diminish the amount of science that you get. So we could transmit this, reporting it from space, high over Kerbin. All right, let's start that transmission. But as you see, zoop, 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 down goes the electric charge. Let's turn SAS off so we can conserve some of that. So electric charge is only replenished by some engines and solar panels. And there's these like nuclear power plants that you can attach, itty bitty guys. So those are the only things that will replenish your electricity. So this one, it'll replenish when we burn to come back down, which maybe we'll do some interesting things with that. But yeah, so we got our crew report and transmitted it. Let's see, where are we at? We are not quite over the pole yet. Let's speed up a little bit. All right, we are firmly over the pole now. Let's take another crew report. Oh, look at that. From high over Kerbin. I think we are too high to be considered as part of any of the biomes. So this is now worth 0 science because we've already taken this report. But what we have not taken is the EVA report. Let's pop this little guy out. Right click. EVA report, 8 science. High in space, yeah. All right, let's keep that. Hit F to board. And I think we are simply too high. So I'm going to fly back up here. Time warp. And so I want to go back down, or rather bring this in a bit so we can actually get some science. So I'm going to spin this around and go what's called prograde, or in the opposite direction from which we are traveling. There's the planet. There we go. Turn this on. Help me out here. And tappity tap tap. There we go. All right, let's hold it there. I'm going to turn SAS off so we can conserve that electricity. And I'm going to burn until we get this down. So if you let's see, was it double click on your periapsis or apoapsis, it'll keep the number up so you can monitor it while you're burning. So let's just do a little gentle burn and bring it down to about 80 or so. That's a very close orbit. The atmosphere stops at 70 around Kerbin, which I can show you how to get that information as soon as we get nice and low. And 83, perfect. So if you want to find out about a planetary body, double click on it so that you focus on it. Focus is Kerbin. And then you click on this little planet icon and it'll tell you atmosphere present, yes, atmosphere height 70,000 meters or 70 kilometers. So let's find out this information about the moon. And we click the planets, atmosphere present, no. So parachutes will not work on here. It's the most relevant feature. You can also find out gravity is 0.166, which means it's quite a bit less than Kerbin. and you can fly around and do other fun stuff, which if you've seen any other KSP videos, these are things that you already know. But the fun part is getting back to the ship. You're like, how do I get back to my ship? So you can double click on it, but oh no, we've actually focused on the planet. Here we are at the Doge Stratus. But if you're at another place, say you're like way out here, looking at some other planet, and you don't want to scroll all the way back. Let's do a full example here. Let's go to Moho. Looking at Moho, checking out Moho. Hey there, Moho. I'm like, I just want to go back to my ship. You can hit delete. Excuse me. You can hit backspace. I get those two mixed up way too often. You can hit backspace, and it'll take you directly back to your ship that you are flying. So this is down at 83. I think, let's check our fuel. Tons of fuel. So let's head down, get to 83, and we'll bring this one in so that we can get some better science going on. Let's speed up around. Period. Whoa, too fast. There we go. The thing with time warp is it'll automatically slow you down as you approach a planet, unless you're going full speed, at which point it may just zoom right past a planet or even through a planet at times. So, just monitor it yourself and don't overdo it. And quick save frequently. Quick save is F5 for reference. I'm not going to do it here because it's not really necessary. I mean, we're just in orbit around Kerbin, not doing any strategic maneuvers or anything like that. Just having a good old time getting some science. Let's rotate this guy around. And let's see, we are in the dark, and we are going to shrink our orbit, double-clicking. We are pointing retrograde or against the way that we're going, so we can slow down and bring this in. And we'll fire it up a little bit. Bring it down to, right about 80 as well. Should do just fine. Bring it in. Bring it in. Tap and shift going up. Tap and control to bring it back down. Try and get some precision in here. And the thing is, when these are representative of X, not representative of X, they're representative of your apoapsis, periapsis, so they're numbers, what do you call it, the altitude at which you are, and so when you're in an orbit, they're gonna be 100. They're always 180 degrees out, but they'll be 90 degrees out if you're perfectly aligned. So these 86 and 80 means that they're as equivalent as they're going to get before this side starts getting higher than this side, in which case it would be over here and this one would be over here. So this means that you're in a good, stable, steady orbit is when your apoapsis and periapsis are very similar numbers. You're 90 degrees out from both of them. Apparently my TARDIS is telling me that I didn't turn my phone off. So here we are somewhere. Let's take a crew report. Hit number 2. While in space near Kerbin. Let's keep that. Let's do an EVA report. Instead of high above Kerbin, we are now near Kerbin, which is why we are able to take more reports. So we've got our we are just above Kerbin's mountains. That is what I'm looking for. Mountains indicates a biome, which means that we are getting science. EVA report from this added. And let us zoom around to the pole. Here we come. There we are. And see, can we take another crew report? I always forget. Nope, we cannot, but I believe we can do another EVA report because we are in a different biome just above Kerbin's ice caps. There we go, another 8 science. Alright, so I'm going to fly around and get some more science going on just so we can have more parts for our next mission. And I will see you in just a moment. Alright, so I just finished getting the desert. So I got the desert, the grasslands, the mountains, the waters, a whole bunch of other ones. We'll find out when we land. But my goal for landing is to land on the South Pole. Why?
because it is a unique environment that is somewhat difficult to get to. Let's see, we are heading south, right? Yep. It's difficult to get to. It takes a long time by airplane should we decide to get there that way later. But we can do an EVA report and get our other goo canister there, which should yield quite a bit of science points. So I've got quite a bit of fuel, so we can slow down and land real quick. So let's head over to our retrograde marker. It's got the little X in it. Turn on SAS because I'm going to be burning soon, so I don't have to worry about too much. Let's get it centered. There we are. Ish. There we go. Alright, now I'm just going to burn full throttle until we get our marker down to about here. Oh, actually it's the pole, so we don't have to worry too much about planetary rotation. So let's cut it right about there. And as we come into the atmosphere, we're going to hit it and slow down a bit. So we're going to probably land right about there, but that should be just fine and dandy. And I got a lot of fuel, so I can kind of fly a little further if we're going to head towards the ocean. So let me spin around for no good reason at all. Actually, let's, what do we want to do? How confident am I? Yeah, that is looking pretty good. You know, I think we're gonna land here. I don't have to worry too much about not getting there. So we're gonna blow off the final decoupler here, even though we have a ton of fuel left. Definitely overdid it with the rocket, but early on it's just fine. All right, so I'm gonna spin it a little bit, and boom, there we go. It's got lots of separating power. That guy's gonna fly off and he's going to hit the ground. And this guy is way too easy to control. Let's get him going at his retrograde marker. And let's kill SAS. We don't really need it. Let's spin a little bit. There we go. And if we wanted to, we can launch these guys just so we can slow down a bit, which, you know, I might do. But let's head down into the atmosphere. We'll do a time warp. And, oh, look at that. As we passed under 70,000 meters, it automatically kicked me down out of time warp and into physics warp. Physics warp is a bit different. So time warp is when you're up in space and it'll kind of put the game on rails, as they say. So it'll not really do a whole lot of physics calculation as far as your ship is concerned. So you can just warp, you know, until you reach another planet, you know. But the physics warp is different. You've only got up to 4 times physics warp, and it'll actually perform the calculations for the physics of your ship at a very fast rate, which sometimes can be good when on a small ship like this, because there's not a whole lot going on. Look at those atmospheric effects. I love them. So when you get a small ship, you don't really have to worry about it breaking apart, so you can just have at it. But on a bigger ship, or when you're deploying parachutes, it'll put the ship under stress, and that stress is amplified in physics warp. So you'll hit harder, you'll crash harder, the parachutes will yank harder, and it'll tear your ship apart basically. So it'll warn you the first couple times. Let's see, so we are down. Let's deploy our chute at about 5,000 meters. And coming down nicely. Got the moon in the background there. Sun is over there. And we're at 3,000. Let's deploy those chutes. Make sure we slow down. All right. And this should deploy at a fairly decent height. Again, it's 500 meters above the ground, but then this is the ice cap. So the ice cap, however thick it is going to make a difference as to when the chute deploys. There it goes, no problem. And we are under 400 now. We can physics warp until we touch down. You don't want to physics warp while you're actually going to make contact. Again, because everything is amplified. So let's slow her down now that we're at about 80 meters and 50 And good to go. All right, now that we are on the ice cap, let's see. We got SAS off. Let us take this last goo container. Yes, mystery goo observation from Kerbin's ice caps. It is not worth very much science, though, unfortunately. That's okay. Let's do an EVA while we're here. This is a very important part that a lot of people don't remember to do when they're landing, is once you've landed, get out and take an EVA report. In fact, oops, don't hit F and get back in. You can get down, get up, but get down. Wow, that's very soft snow. But we can plant a flag for one. Jeb, you are king. King of the South Pole. Look at that flag go. Alright, site name. South Pole Science Excursion. There was much rejoicing. So, science. So Doge. Okay. And let's take an EVA report from the ice cap. I don't think a spacesuit was entirely necessary to get here, was it? No, it was not. 2.4 science. We'll take every little bit we can get, and we can take a surface sample. 30 bits of science, only 9 science, but it's better than the 2.3 if we transmit it. This isn't really solid ground, is it? You've got a sample, but feared to dig any deeper because the startling cracking sounds the ice made. You try not to think back on how you landed there. Right, let's keep that data. Let's head back to our capsule here, just so we can get it all at once. If you end up with like one of these guys falling off, but still intact, you can actually recover it separately as debris, and you'll still get your science from it. Same is true as if your little Kerbonaut gets separated from the capsule, you can recover him separately from the capsule and still get everything back. So we got everything though, all in one, no need to transmit. We can just click this recover and get tons of science. Let's find out how much. And boom, 103.4 science earned on this mission. So we've got all these crew reports, EVA reports. Scroll down. Surface sample is pretty good. Goo, and then here we go. Recovery of a vessel returned from Kerbin orbit. So you get extra points for recovering the vessel itself. 103 science. Let's go spend it real quick. Easy to decide. So we want this engine for sure. This is our long range, very good fuel efficiency engine. So let's purchase that for only 15. I like these big fuel tanks. Let's see, 45. Let's be a little bit stingy here. Oh, here we are. Strut connector, absolutely highest priority. Then we also get these radial decouplers and tri-stack coupler, good stuff. This one is kind of airplane-y stuff, but the reaction wheel is pretty handy. Ooh, but batteries. Batteries are essential, and a new transmitter and more science. That is absolutely what we need. So I've got 16 left, but this is only 8. This is 18. We do not have enough. But our science is well spent. Next time around, we'll shoot for this one at 90 science, because we get the first set of solar panels and round batteries. The solar panels change the game. They are a game changer. They let you not have to worry so much about keeping everything and transmitting all the things. Science archives. Kerbin, you are now much more full here. I'll have to do some research and find out what I've missed. I'm sure there's something else at KSP at the Space Center that I need to do. And yes, but we'll call this an episode. This is KlerikReturns saying until I return, thanks for watching. Remember to leave a like, and I will see you in the next episode.